Hello and welcome to Green and Gold Game Time. I'm your host, Mike Rose. It has been an action-packed and record-breaking week in Brockport, so let's dive right in. We begin with Brockport Gymnastics, seeking its fourth consecutive regional title. To do this, they needed to take care of business at the NCGA Regional Championship. Ithaca was the hosts on Saturday, but it was the Golden Eagles who controlled the day. Brockport dominated the day, leading all schools in vault, bars, and floor score. Brockport finished with a score of 192.100 to take the regional title once again. Cortland finished in second place and will join Brockport as the East representatives at Nationals. It was the fourth straight regional title for Brockport. Rachel Swick was the big individual winner, taking the regional title on bars. Brockport also set a new program record on the bars, scoring 49.00. The Golden Eagles advance into the national tournament. We'll have more on the Golden Eagles outlook later on in the show. Some more history was made this weekend, this coming from the track. John Zavala represented the Golden Eagles at Nationals in the men's mile. After qualifying for the final with a time of 4 minutes and 12 seconds, Zavala posted a time of 4 minutes and 6 seconds in the finals. That was good for a third-place finish and earned him first-team All-American status. Zavala is the first Golden Eagle to earn All-American in the men's mile in program history. Brockport women's lacrosse was back in action, looking to snap a 3-game stint as they hosted St. Lawrence. We pick it up in the first quarter. Evans finds Haley Lukovic in front, and she buries her first goal of the game to give the Golden Eagles the early lead. Brockport held a 2-goal edge after 1 quarter of play. We jump ahead to the second, 5-2 Brockport in front. Cassidy Bernash off a free position buries it to extend the lead. Later in the second, Bernash finds Julia Quinlan to make it a 7-2 lead for the Golden Eagles. St. Lawrence got one back before the break, 7-3 at the half. Move ahead to the third quarter. St. Lawrence hanging around. Nev Lay right down the center of the defense to cut the lead to 3. And the Saints would storm all the way back in this game. They would lead the game after 3 quarters. Fourth quarter tied at 8. Bella Hillman on the doorstep, and she makes no mistakes with it, buries it into the back of the net. Saints back in front. Bernash would eventually tie the game before Tristan Davis on a free position gives Brockport the lead back, 10-9. Later in the fourth, under 2 to play in the game, Elena Foos is able to put one home, and the Golden Eagles take this one 12-10. And Davis starred in this game once again for Brockport, scoring 4 goals. It was a much-needed win for Brockport, who now sits at 2-3 on the season. Brockport men's lacrosse in action Wednesday, taking on Nazareth. We pick it up in the second. Brockport getting beat up a little bit here, but Nick Askin buries one to cut into the deficit. He makes it a 9-2 game. Later in the second, it's Askin once again. He has been dominant all season long, and he's able to work in front here through the defense, and he's able to eventually put one home with a magnificent individual effort. But in the end, Nazareth would dominate on this day. Matt Farmington in the third buries one, pushes the lead out to 14-4. A nice shot there from Farmington. And eventually it'll be Anthony Michelelli late in this one in the fourth quarter. Take my word for it. Ignore the third up top in the corner. Nazareth going to be the winners in this one. They roll to a 21-8 victory on the day. And with that, we segue to our first ever Green and Gold Game Time Player of the Week. Despite the loss, one man who shined for Brockport this week was grad transfer Nick Askin. Askin shattered the lacrosse men's program record for goals in a game in Saturday's win over Westminster with 10. He followed that up with 4 goals in the loss Wednesday. Overall, Askin now sits with 26 goals on the season for Brockport in 5 games, and his record-breaking performance earns him our Green and Gold Game Time Player of the Week. Coming up, Brockport lacrosse insider Chamberlain Botter joins us in studio. Stay with us for that. Coming up, Brockport lacrosse insider Chamberlain Botter joins us in studio. Stay with us for that.
Hello, this is Chris Triolo, student here at Brockport, and you're watching Talon Television, home of the SUNY Brockport Golden Eagles, Brockport, New York. Check us out on Instagram at Talon Television for more on campus events and news. Tune into our YouTube channel, Talon Television, as well as our website, TalonTelevision.org, for our various student-run podcasts and news shows.
Welcome back to Green and Gold Game Time. Thrilled to be joined now in the studio with Brockport lacrosse insider Chamberlain Bauder. Chamberlain, thanks for taking the time to stop by here today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Excited to talk about this Brockport men's lacrosse team.
So obviously off to a little bit of a slow start so far this season for the Golden Eagles. And been a lot of changes under year 2 in Coach Talon corner. What have you seen so far early on this season that maybe hasn't been working for this team?
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on, to say the least. I mean, they've played teams that are significantly right now above their caliber, and I think it's because Coach Cornair is kind of looking to set up this team for down the road being able to compete for a national ranking, and that's the ultimate goal. But right now, in year 2, this team's just not completely built for it yet. He doesn't have all of his recruits in. He's still working out players that were recruited in by Ben Weinberg and then didn't really ever see any playing time, and they're still all filtering in through his bench right now. But some shining stars with young transfers that come in and grad transfers also coming in definitely make it still an exciting time despite the losses.
And obviously, new goalie in net after Cam Kuzniar lost to graduation. He really led the way in the backstop for this team last year defensively. Just talk about what you've seen from the goalies that have been in action so far for the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, they've got 3 this year. So first is Jack Acker. Now he comes back to this team after not being a part of the unit last season. He was still with the program, but not playing in a jersey every week. So that he has the added level of knowing the communication, the different terminologies that the team uses, and how to talk to his defenders. Alongside him, though, are 2 freshman goalies that both present different options. Jared Kulik is the one that we haven't seen so much just yet, and he's a bit of a taller, lankier, get on the edge of the crease kind of goalie. But Gavin Miller, who we have seen a little bit so far in this season, definitely has showed some things to keep an eye out for, and his communication ability, despite being a freshman, is very impressive.
Now let's talk about some of the good things, and we just talked about our Green and Gold Game Time Player of the Week, Nick Askin. He has been a revelation, seemingly, for this team offensively. 26 goals already on the season, just 5 games in. Just talk about what he's brought to this team so far this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that he's only 12 goals away from the program record for goals in a single season, which is outrageous. That also, on the side, to think in 2 seasons as the head coach, Colin Cornair can have 2 program single-season records on his resume already in both Cam Kuzniar last year and now Nick Askin this year. But really, he is the new toy that Coach Cornair can set up essentially anything to create for. He's right and left-handed. He's as good on his left hand as he is on his right, and he can shoot right on the crease. He can bring himself all the way up to the top of the key and run past a defender and take a shot. And any time that he's marked up on one-on-one, he's basically open.
And obviously, conference play coming down the pipeline here a little bit. You mentioned maybe playing a little above their caliber of expectations here early on. As conference play approaches here within the next couple of weeks, what is your take on what the outlook for this team could be as we progress this season?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting when you look at the SUNYAC, obviously the last time that we get to look at the SUNYAC, right? But there's normally 2 tiers to this conference, and it's Cortland and Geneseo and everyone else. But in lacrosse, it has the potential to be very different. The way that this team played even last year, despite not finishing in a playoff spot, was better lacrosse than teams that did make the playoffs. And for the women's team on the other side, they're consistently that 3rd team. Brockport has the chance to make themselves their own tier in between Cortland and Geneseo and everyone else. And I think that we'll see that once they get into their game against Oswego at the end of spring break. I think when they go into that game, it was a 1-goal game last year. This team, 1, will not score only 8 goals against Oswego when they play against them this season. Nick Askin might score 8 goals on his own. But 2, also, their defense is just playing a completely different game in a man defense instead of a zone, where they can really stop allowing people to shoot as much as they normally do in a game.
Putting you on the spot, you said they have a chance to set their own tier up. In your opinion, do they get that done? Are they going to be the team who can position themselves there down the run?
I think they're 3 comfortably this season. I think they will have a very, very hard time against the Geneseos and the Cortlands of the world. We might see bigger score margins than this Nazareth game even, which was their biggest of the season. But I think when it comes to the entire rest of the conference, the best game will be New Paltz, and they will be 3 and 4 in the SUNYAC conference.
Brockport lacrosse insider Chamberlain Bauder, appreciate you joining us here today on the show. Certainly won't be the last time we'll have you on here throughout the course of the season.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
When we come back, lots more to go over. Brockport Gymnastics Nationals and a new head man for the men's basketball program here at the Golden Eagles when we come back.
Hi, I'm Jordan Barrios, a student at SUNY Brockport, presenting to you content in your community. You're listening to WBSU 89.1 FM The Point Radio, proudly covering SUNY Brockport and 7 other counties in Western New York. Thank you for tuning into the 89.1 FM radio for your choice of entertainment. For further information, you can reach us on our social media platforms.
Welcome back to Green and Gold Game Time. We turn to the hardwood now, where Brockport has named interim head coach Joe Clark the new head coach. Clark took over ahead of this season following Greg Dunn's retirement. The Golden Eagles went 16-9 this season and fell in the opening round of the SUNYAC playoffs to Oneonta. Clark will return his top 9 players in minutes per game moving into next season when Brockport will compete in the Empire 8 Conference. In a statement, Clark said, quote, I am extremely honored to be named the head men's basketball coach at Brockport. While this year was truly special, I am excited to continue my coaching career at a place I have called home since 2004. We move now to the Diamond. The Golden Eagles flying down to Florida for spring break as baseball and softball teams' seasons get into full swing. Baseball will have 7 games on the road trip and enter with a record of 3-2 heading down to Florida, while softball begins its season in Florida, and the Golden Eagles will have 10 games down in the Sunshine State during the break. We look ahead now to the Division III Gymnastics National Championship. Brockport will be joined by Cortland, UW-LaCroix, UW-Whitewater, UW-Stout, and the WIAC champion and defending national champions, UW-Oshkosh, when they take to the mats on March 23rd at Ursinus College. Brockport enters the meet with the number 1 season average score of 193.2875 and the number 2 highest single score in the country this season. The Golden Eagles will look to avenge last season's 5th place finish as they seek their 3rd national title in program history and 1st since 2019. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Green and Gold Game Time. Make sure you subscribe here to Talon Television on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And join us back here in 2 weeks when we find out if Brockport Gymnastics is champions and how Brockport Spring Sports perform as conference play approaches. For now, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Green and Gold Game Time.